Good afternoon. My name is Justin Watts. Today we'll be going over the target breach, and we'll go through a little bit of an analysis of why this breach happened. To start, we're going to go over a description of the attack. The attack targeted Target and their customers. It affected over 7 million customers. The duration of the attack was over 18 days. And the data that was stolen during this attack were credit card informations for those customers. The circumstances that led up to this incident: there was poor intrusion detection and prevention practices in place. There was little to no network monitoring. Um, there was a lack of proper patching. Um, Unauthorized shares were on the network. Poor security posture, as in the systems were using default passwords and lacked proper security. And there was poor incident response. Compromises that made up the incident were split into phases. The reconnaissance phase, the attackers were able to find a full vendor list. They also found a case study that described the tools that are used by Target to secure and monitor their network, as well as the information on their POS systems. During the infiltration phase, the attackers were able to use malware to affect a vendor from that vendor list and gain access into Target's network. This access was able to be gleaned because there was a lack of factor authentication. From there was lateral movement. Since the systems were not properly configured, the attackers were able to move from one system to another. This allowed them to eventually get to escalation when they found a domain controller with vulnerabilities from that same case study. Those vulnerabilities allowed them to gain access to the domain controller and escalate privilege, which then allowed them to get access to the POS systems. And the last attacking phase was exfiltration. The attackers were able to use open ports and a lack of security to move information freely from one system to the next and eventually out of the target's network. There was a response phase in there to show that Target lacked proper response strategies to ensure that this type of activity could be stopped in a timely manner. Methods of theft. So the attackers were able to save the credit card numbers when they were swiped to a DLL file. Those DLL files were saved into NetBIOS shares on ports 139, 443, and 80. Those files were then able to be moved via FTP to other systems for exfiltration. Identified weaknesses were access authentication, system security, port security, and process issues. Recommendations were to implement two-factor authentication to ensure that all systems meet security appliance standards, that there's proper security, proper firewall rules, better use of HIDs or HIPs, and to ensure that the process is tested and works and tested often. In conclusion, similar breaches have taken place due to similar issues. Most of these issues deal around configuration and proper management. If there's proper configuration and proper management, there is a less likely chance that these types of attacks will take place. Thank you very much.